Close your eyes. Step away from the noise of the 21st century. Imagine the world before the first wheel ever turned, before the first word was ever pressed into wet clay, and long before the first king wore a crown of gold. Imagine a silence so deep it feels physical. A world where the only sounds are the wind rushing through high mountain passes and the rhythmic communal chanting of 1,000 voices moving in perfect unison. You are standing in a vast open plain. The stars above are so bright they seem to vibrate against the velvet blackness of the sky. In front of you, a shadow is rising. It is not a natural shadow. It is a sharp, intentional silhouette carved out of the earth and stone, reaching toward the heavens. It is a megalith. For decades, we have been taught a specific story about these ancient structures. We've been told they were built by slaves under the lash of tyrants, or that they were the result of primitive superstition, or even, in the more fringe corners of the internet, that they were the work of extraterrestrial visitors. We look at the Great Pyramid of Giza, the towering trilithons of Stonehenge, and the T-shaped pillars of Göbekli Tepe, and we ask the same question. How? How did they move stones weighing 40, 70, or 100 tons without engines, steel, or even pulleys? But while we obsess over the how, we often miss the much more haunting question. Why? Why did civilizations separated by thousands of miles and thousands of years all decide to build the same shadow? Why is the impulse to stack massive stones toward the sun the most universal human language we possess? If you are listening to this to fall asleep, let your mind drift into that ancient rhythm. This is not a story of toil and misery. The archaeological evidence emerging in 2026, from the hidden geoglyphs of the Amazon to the high plateaus of Anatolia, suggests a radically different reality. These stones weren't built by slaves. They were built by communities. They weren't monuments to death. They were anchors for the living. Tonight, we are going to explore the mystery of the forgotten megaliths, not as engineering puzzles, but as the ultimate human sleep story. We are going to look at why we built them, what they did to our collective psyche, and why the shadow they cast still falls across our modern world. To understand the megalith, you have to understand the prehistoric concept of time. In our modern world, time is a frantic, linear thing. It is measured in seconds, deadlines, and notification pings. But for the megalith builders, time was circular. It was governed by the slow, majestic rotation of the stars and the predictable return of the sun. The world was a place of terrifying vastness. To a small tribe of hunter-gatherers or early farmers, the landscape was a shifting, chaotic thing. Floods came, forests grew and died, and herds migrated. The only thing that was permanent was the sky. The megalith was an attempt to bring that celestial permanence down to earth. By placing a 50-ton stone in a specific spot, aligned with a specific star on a specific night, humans were claiming a seat at the table of the cosmos. They were saying, "We are here, and we belong to the universe." Think about the atmosphere of a building site 10,000 years ago. It wasn't a construction zone in the way we think of it today. It was a festival. Imagine 1,000 people gathered from across a vast region. They haven't seen each other in a year. There is music, the deep, resonant thrum of skin drums, and the high, haunting whistle of bone flutes. There is the smell of roasting meat and wood smoke. And in the center of it all is the great stone. It sits on a sled of massive logs, lubricated by water or animal fat. 100 thick ropes made of braided plant fiber stretch out like the veins of a giant. The movement isn't a struggle, it's a dance. Someone, perhaps an elder with a voice that carries across the plains, starts a chant. It's a rhythmic, low-frequency sound that synchronizes the heartbeat of every person holding a rope. On the beat, they lean back. The logs groan, the earth shudders, and the stone moves. It moves only a few inches at a time, but in those inches, the community is forged. To pull a megalith is to be part of something larger than yourself. It is the ultimate act of social glue. Scientists have noted that the work of building these structures likely only took a few weeks out of the year, during the transition between seasons when food was abundant and the heat was manageable. The rest of the time was leisure, storytelling, and planning. The megalith wasn't a burden. It was a reason to come together. As the sun begins to set over our ancient camp, let's look at the shadow itself. Why the pyramid? Why the standing stone? From the ziggurats of Mesopotamia to the mounds of the Mississippi and the temples of the Maya, the shape remains consistent. Some call it the world mountain. It is the bridge between the earth and the sky. But there is a deeper, more biological reason. Our ancestors were masters of light and shadow. They lived in a world where the movement of a shadow across the ground was the only clock they had. A megalith is, at its core, a shadow catcher. Imagine standing inside the circle of Stonehenge on the morning of the winter solstice. The air is so cold your breath hangs in the air like a ghost. The world is gray and dead. There is a fear deep in the primitive brain that the sun might not come back, that the darkness might finally win. You watch the horizon, and then, at the precise moment calculated by generations of observers, the sun hits the heelstone. A long, golden finger of light stretches across the grass and enters the heart of the circle. The shadow of the stone aligns perfectly with the center of the temple. In that moment, the tribe knows. The cycle has reset. The light is returning. Life will continue. The megalith wasn't just a calendar. It was a machine for producing hope. By 40,000 years ago, and certainly by the time of the great builders 10,000 years ago, humans were not just biological machines. We were symbolic creatures. We needed to feel that our lives meant something in the face of the infinite. This is why we find the same shadow everywhere. It's not because an ancient, lost civilization sailed around the world teaching everyone how to stack rocks. It's because the human brain, when faced with the same stars and the same sun, reaches the same conclusion. We stack stones to reach the light. But there is a mystery that even modern science struggles to explain: the precision. At places like Puma Punku in Bolivia or the Serapeum in Egypt, we find stones cut with such accuracy that you cannot fit a human hair between them. We find holes drilled into granite, one of the hardest stones on Earth, with a consistency that suggests a high-speed rotation. How? We don't see evidence of advanced machinery, but we see the results of it. Perhaps the answer lies in a technology we have forgotten, the technology of time and patience. If you have 10 generations of people working on a single site, if you have 1,000 years to polish a surface using nothing but sand, water, and leather, you can achieve a level of perfection that our modern, rushed world cannot comprehend. We have the tools, but they had the time. In 2026, new LiDAR scans of the Amazon rainforest have revealed thousands of geometric earthworks and megalithic arrangements hidden under the canopy. They are thousands of years old. They suggest that the primitive jungle dwellers were actually part of a massive, continent-wide network of builders who were mapping the stars with the Earth itself. They were building a shadow that could be seen from the heavens. Why? Perhaps because they knew that the Earth is fragile. They knew that forests burn and rivers change course. But a stone aligned with the North Star is forever. As the night deepens in our journey, let's consider the sounds of the megalith. Recent studies in archaeoacoustics have shown that the inner chambers of these stone structures were often designed to resonate at a frequency of 110 Hz. This is the frequency that shifts the human brain into a state of deep meditation or trance. When our ancestors gathered inside these stone lungs, their voices would vibrate against the walls, creating a physical sensation of being inside the earth. It was a sensory experience designed to induce sleep, vision, and connection. It was the original sleep aid. As you drift closer to sleep, imagine the builders walking away from the finished site. The stones are up. The alignments are perfect. The festival is over. They leave behind a silent sentinel that will stand for 10,000 years. They return to their small villages, to their farms, and to their families. They carry with them the memory of the pull, the feeling of 1,000 hands on a single rope, the sound of the great stone settling into its socket, and the sight of the first shadow falling exactly where it was meant to. We look at these ruins today and see the forgotten megaliths. We see ruins, broken pillars, and mysteries. But the stones aren't forgotten. They are still doing exactly what they were built to do. They are still catching the sun. They are still marking the solstices. They are still casting the same shadow that they cast for our ancestors. They are reminders that we are not separate from the universe. We are part of a long, unbroken line of humans who looked at the stars and decided to build something that would last. The world is quiet now. The sun has moved far below the horizon. The megaliths are standing in the dark, bathed in starlight, waiting for the dawn. You don't need to solve the mystery tonight. You don't need to wonder about the engineering or the how. You only need to feel the why. You belong to a species of builders, of dreamers, and of shadow catchers. You are safe within the circle. The stones are standing guard. The cycle is turning, and the morning will come exactly as the shadows promised. The hunt is over. The work is done. The megalith is still. Sleep now and dream of the stars. Imagine the earth as a living organism and these stones as its pressure points, connecting the terrestrial to the celestial. In the silence of your room, feel the weight of history not as a burden, but as a foundation. We are a species that leaves marks. We are a species that refuses to be forgotten by time. Think of the Great Pyramid not as a tomb, but as a mirror. Its 4 sides reflect the 4 cardinal directions, its apex pointing to a center that we are all trying to find. Think of the Moai on Easter Island, their backs to the sea, watching over the people like silent grandfathers. Each stone, each mound, each carved pillar is a chapter in a book written in the language of geology. As your breathing slows, imagine you are a traveler 5,000 years in the future. You come across the remains of our world. What will be our megalith? What shadow will we leave behind? Will it be our monuments of glass and steel? Or will it be something deeper, the memory of how we learned to live together on a small blue planet? The ancient builders are gone, but their shadows remain. They fall across the desert sands, the jungle floors, and the English countrysides. They remind us that even in the dark, there is geometry. Even in the silence, there is music. And even in sleep, there is a connection to everything that came before. The great stone has settled. The rope is slack. The chant has faded into a hum. The stars are the only witnesses now. Rest your mind in the cradle of the megalith. You are part of the shadow. You are part of the light. You are part of the story. Sleep. Let the circular time of the ancients wash over you. Let the North Star guide your dreams. The stones will be there when you wake. They have seen 1,000,000 dawns, and they will see yours too. The shadows grow long, touching the edges of the universe. The silence is complete. You are drifting now, floating on the current of deep time. Past the megaliths, past the mountains, into the heart of the stars. The world is safe. The cycle is whole. The shadows have spoken.